It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex. Connie is off gallivanting on the Lost Moon of Poosh, but she should be back next week.
Today we're discussing episode 10 of Doctor Who season 10. I like that. Anyway, the Eaters of Light. In this episode, the Doctor tries to be a savior, Bill commands the Romans, and Nardole tries to blend in. Why was he in his pajamas? Like, ain't nobody else was. Like, I mean, the Doctor and Bill are completely dressed, and then they don't...
Fully clothed.
And they don't, like... Did they ever mention it? I was like, are you gonna explain why he's in his robe? Or no?
There was a moment where he was like, I want to go back to sleep, but then I was like, why were you awake?
Right.
I mean, why were you asleep in the first place? And then, like, why weren't they
right.
asleep? And then also, like, why didn't they give you enough time to change?
And you're in that, like, go back to the TARDIS and put some clothes on. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think they just were like, oh, it'll be funny if he's in his pajamas. But I was like, why is this happening? There's another thing in this episode, /2 episodes, that I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, it's a quirky Nardole thing, and I don't care. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, it's just a thing that they're trying to get.
They're trying to make
silly,
fetch happen.
And I'm like, whatever. They're not.
It's not working.
Yeah. They gotta stop. Picture it, Aberdeen, 2 AD. Because we did that last time, and now I really appreciate. I'm gonna bring Golden Girls into everything. So they go to Aberdeen because Bill is like a super. What's the word? Like she claims to be an expert in like Roman history, and the Doctor's like, but I was a Roman like 3 times.
I
don't know why.
One of my best friends was Roman for a century.
But yeah, Rory was a Roman, and they didn't bring him up at all.
And, you know,
and I was surprised by that.
Sunday or Saturday or Friday, I don't know, recently, very recently, it was Arthur Darvill's birthday, like, on Thursday or Friday. Like...
Oh, got you. Sorry. I thought you were talking about the what's it called from last episode, like, whose name was Friday, and so I was like... Do you not?
What does that have to do with this?
It was really
no, I'm talking about the actual day. It was, like, this week, as they timed, when this is going to air, and you have a calendar, and the social media person from Doctor Who, like, sent out a whole happy birthday, Arthur Darvill, which is how I knew about it. I don't know, like, Arthur Darvill's birthday off the top of my head. And I was like, y'all couldn't have put a reference in there? Just quick?
It was
in a voiceover?
I mean, again, it's not, like, a big deal, but it felt like... Yeah. Part of me was like... underground or whatever, I was like, the Pandorica is gonna be here.
That would have been sick.
What's going on? Like, but no, that didn't happen. But that's fine. We had other things. There was a monster running around eating light and killing people. So
okay, so
they were coming through. Speaking of the Eaters of Light, they were coming through an interdimensional temporal rift, which, if you know me or like have heard me talk about time travel. That just those words, I was like, yes, I'm about it. I'm here. I don't know what else is happening in this episode, but there is an interdimensional temporal rift, and that's all I need to know.
I liked how they were talking about, like, he was looking at the rift, and he said, I was there for 2 seconds, and then it was like, nah, you've been there for 2 days.
You made it so great. I love time. It's awesome.
Yeah, but I also was a little, so I've been watching a lot of Star Trek. lot of Star Trek, guys. All Star Trek all the time over here. And they just be saying shit. Like, just like words on words, and like something needs to be reconfigured, rejiggered, and then they all just like throw temporal in there. And we're just supposed to be cool with it. And I'm just like, that's not...
Well, temporal means time.
No, I know. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, they'll just be like, oh, blah, 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 temporal anomaly, blah. And then we're supposed to, and then they want to distract us because we hear temporal and we're like, time travel or time nonsense, and we get excited. But in actuality, like, they didn't say, like, what? That's not a reason.
Are you talking about Star Trek?
I'm talking about all of these shows. That is not a...
What's not a reason? It's not a reason for what?
It just was it was too easy. Oh, there's a interdimensional temporal rift.
I'm confused.
Okay.
But that's what it was. That's literally what it was. There was a monster coming through another time dimension, and it was there before they got there, and then they found where it was coming from. I don't understand what made it easy.
I don't know.
This is a show about time travel.
I don't know. It just made me annoyed.
Why?
It was too I
don't get it.
Science fiction plot. I'm like, I want.
So it was basically what the show is?
Yes.
And why you watch it?
Yes. But there's been 2 episodes in a row where it's like something is, I don't know. I guess that is the show, as I'm saying. I was about to say something is not in the time it's supposed to be in, and then I was like, that is the show.
Literally what Doctor Who is. That's why I'm sitting here confused. And
it just bothered me today.
Do you no longer want to watch the show? Or
it just,
do you have some other problems? I'm confused.
I just wanted something. You know what it is, actually? This is what it is. Last episode and this episode, I have been at a loss to figure out where the season is going. I feel like I should have a little bit more of an understanding of Missy's involvement in the overarching theme of the season. There's I guess I've gotten used to with Moffat there being this big mystery, and then these smaller episodic mysteries, and I don't know what the big mystery is in this season. And we're getting closer to the end, and I'm just feeling agitated.
Well, I mean, I do think I think they did it slightly different because the mystery was the vault, and we found out what it was.
But we all knew.
That the overarching, but I think it's not necessarily a mystery this time. I think it's that's the big storyline is the vault and Missy. Right, because that's then the thing that's been brought up every episode. That's the thing, Missy is now out of the vault. So it's not really about the vault anymore. It's about her. In next episode, I'm pretty sure the next episode is it's the beginning of the finale. So it's about Missy's in there and the master shows up he's at the end of the promo for the next episode or whatever. So I think it's a lot about Missy and her whether she becomes good or stays bad or whatever. I think it's very and about her relationship with the doctor.
If they can be
especially again. Just the end of this episode was are they becoming friends? Are they the doctor seems really hesitant, but at the same time that's the person he's known the longest and really the last time Lord that he can communicate with. Really, I don't know. I feel there has been a clear arc. There just hasn't been a what's going on. It's been more okay, we see kind of what's going on. I still think there's going to be a twist.
Yeah.
For sure.
I guess it's just think there's something, Missy's up to something's going to go down, and I'm getting agitated by not knowing now. Which is how I watch television, you know? I like to pace around. I like to go on Wikipedia and figure it out beforehand so I'm not stressed out. And because I'm watching this live and we've gotten, and I think also as much as I try to avoid pictures from the set and announcements and all that stuff, it's one, doing what we do and having the Twitter account and stuff, and having to monitor that. I'm not able to shield myself from it as much, but then also I feel there's it. I wish I wouldn't have known that the master was going to be in this season, right? Because now I'm just when is it going to happen and what's the thing? If I was more out of the loop, we're in this weird place where we know a lot, but we don't know anything, we know a lot of detail, or so-and-so is going to be in this, season. We knew that early on. This is Peter Capaldi's last season. We knew that early on, but we don't know how they're going to make all of that work. And so what I end up with is just agitation and anxiety. And so now I'm mad. I think that's it. I think I figured it out. Good talk, guys. Good talk.
Okay.
I just need to talk through it.
The actual episode.
Okay.
And what happened. So there's this alien called an Eater of Light who is like kind of gotten through this rift and is basically
like a parasite, right? Or what did he call it? A locust?
Something, yeah. So it killed like a bunch of people in a very short period of time. And I mean, I think that this episode, it kind of focuses more on like the Romans and then the Celts, so like the people who are like native to where they are in Scotland.
Aberdeen.
And they're, yeah. And
Hogwarts is right up the road. Sorry. Okay, keep talking. I'm done.
So I was going to say, I think like they brought up the theme of empire again in this episode, but like in a different way. It was less about colonialism, I feel like, and more about like two sides and like trying to work together in the face of like something much bigger than them, you know what I mean? Like something much more dangerous than like what they have been fighting against.
Yeah. Kind of reminiscent actually of Game of Thrones when Stannis comes to the wall and it's like, okay, yes, you're fighting this war for the Seven Kingdoms, but there's a much bigger enemy.
Yeah, kind of.
You know? And then it's, can you put aside petty squabbles to, you know, for your own survival?
Right. And the answer was no in that case, but...
In the case of Game of Thrones, no, people are going to be miserable. They always choose to be the worst. But in the case of Doctor Who...
They brought them together. The other thing, too, is, like, what was also interesting is they ended up with, like, all these people who are basically kids. So the oldest Roman was 18. And, I don't know, the leader of the barbarians, as they were mostly called, was, like, 12. I mean, not 12, but she was little. The doctor called her an embryo at one point. And... yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it was interesting kind of, like, showing that. And then the fact that, like, because they're children, it feels like they're easier to sway, maybe? You know, like, I feel like adults are generally, like, much more, like, stuck in their ways.
See, I didn't get that. I thought, because they were kids, I felt like they had more to prove, and they were more impulsive. They weren't thinking... like through the consequences, and that's also comes up at the end of the episode when the doctor's ready to like make this big sacrifice in their kids, and he has a long life, and he's looking at it from a much more like, this is the thing that makes the most sense, whereas they're looking at it as like, no, this is our fight, this is our chance to prove ourselves, this is our, you know, like whole thing. And that's how I kind of took it.
I mean, yes, I think that definitely like what it was, but I mean the part that got them to work together less than the part that actually got them to like make that sacrifice at the end. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was thinking more of just them working together in the first, and like being able to do that. And yeah, I mean, and then the fact that like the doctor and Bill were able to bring them together, like they weren't maybe like the first half of the episode, they weren't together at all. They were like separated for a pretty long time.
Yeah, I would say even more than the first half. Like they like had the first. Yeah. Bill and the doctor and Nardole had that first scene together, and then Bill went off on her own, which is like, as soon as she did that, I was like, come really on, guys.
Confused about that. I was like, you're really just letting her go off? Right? That seems like a weird. Like, not only does it seem like a bad idea, it seems really strange. And, like not given... like the doctor.
Like, I would assume the doctor would at least sit Nardole with her. Like,
right. That's what I thought. I was like, why is Nardole going? And I don't even like him, but I was like, why is he going with the doctor? Right. This is weird.
Like, I get that they would split up because they're, like, in this whole competition of who's smarter, who's proving who right or wrong or whatever. But, like, to let her go off on her own just seemed weird. But yeah, like they had that first scene, kind of set up the whole, I know more about the Romans than you do. And then they were both wrong and both right at the same time. Right, which was great. And then they came back at like the very end, maybe like 2 to 3. Yeah, that's like true. Like a third they spent a third of the episode together, I would say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I want to talk about Bill. Well, I'm gonna wait because Bill Filth. We have a section for that. I also, so like the TARDIS translation matrix came up finally, which like on the one hand I was like glad it came up, and I thought that the way that they used it in this episode was actually like really great and interesting. I love that Bill figured it out on her own. Yeah. Though I thought it was strange that she wouldn't have asked that question when they were much earlier.
Or even earlier than that, given, like, all the questions she has asked, that seemed like, when she was like, what's going on? Why can I, like, I'm not speaking Latin. Am I speaking Latin? I was like, didn't we have this conversation already? And then we hadn't, but in my head, like, it seemed like...
It was definitely something that...
It was something that had come up.
Picked up on earlier, given who she is.
Yeah.
I also think, though, I'm, like, trying to, like, think back about it now in my head. Besides the Mars episode last week, was she dealing with, like, aliens? Or they were always, like, humanoid, right? And they were always kind of in Britain.
Right. Or they were, like, robots.
Right. I think that's why, to me, it was, like, weird just because I watched the last week's episode kind of later, so it was, like, fresh in my mind that, like, she would ask this of the Romans, but not of, like, the ice people.
That was I guess really...
Friday was with the Victorian soldier, so I guess she could have assumed that he learned English.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess he must have, right? Because he was talking to the Victorian soldiers weren't like, oh my god, why can we understand you all of a sudden? They were very much
right.
Like, talking. So.
Yeah, and then also the TARDIS, which is like something me and Connie talked about last episode, is like the TARDIS wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't have worked unless it's like specifically the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because they shouldn't have been able to understand each other. Maybe Friday, because like you said, like maybe he learned how to speak English, but the other ones shouldn't have been able to understand. And then, so that was the other thing I was going to say is like, while I thought that it was like, I'm glad that Bill figured it out on her own though. Like if she's not going to ask the question, I think that it's interesting that she kind of like
pieced it together,
went through it in her head and was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. It's a translation thing. And I was like, okay, you smart. But then I also thought that like, that them using that as like the way to bring the Romans and the Celts together. It's like you can actually understand each other, which means you can actually like talk to each other.
Yeah.
Which I think was an interesting like theme. I thought that, you know, again, like the Romans are colonizers at this point, so that makes it a little like it kind of smooths it out a little bit. But I did think it was a nice sentiment. I did think also that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say to the translation or whatever. Like, I did think like they kind of just use that when it's useful, and then when it's not, they forget about it.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's like true of a lot of the Doctor's things, you know.
Like things, that's true.
There's so many different things that they've come up with.
Because like there's been a couple moments in like this season where I've been like, what's up with the translation matrix? Because it doesn't seem to be working now, or it's like working subjectively, and I'm not really sure how that happens.
Maybe that's the whole thing about Missy fixing the TARDIS, is like the TARDIS is kind of doing what it wants.
Right.
Because in the Mars episode, it just takes Nardole back, and they don't really. I mean, Missy's there, and apparently they explain it at the end of this episode that she's helping like fix the TARDIS, but they never really explain why the TARDIS took off without the Doctor.
No, they never did. I thought they would.
And for Nardole, like I would assume, like if it was Bill that went back to the TARDIS, it would take off and be like, "You're in danger, girl." Like, you know what I mean? Because he kind of has done that before, where if he thinks he's not surviving, or if he thinks a companion is in too much danger, the TARDIS will send them back to their time. I also thought, though, when you were talking about the Romans being colonizers at this point, I thought they did a decent job, though, of saying, like, but the 9th Battalion, or Cert Fleet, or whatever they were called.
Legion.
The 9th Legion, thank you. I was like, battalion is wrong. But they are not, they're just soldiers, you know what I mean? Like, they don't...
Right, totally.
They're colonizers, but in the grand scheme of things, they're just soldiers. They're just following orders. They're not the people that have, like...
made the plans
or made the decision to become colonizers. So,
mm-hmm.
I think that
and then also, worked. Like... Yeah, I do too. And then also, like, these Romans deserted as well, which is like, hey, they're another deserting faction, just like last week. Yeah, I also liked that we got black Romans.
And gay Romans.
And black gay Romans. And black gay Romans. It's pretty great.
I was thinking about, I was like, oh no, we're going to hear about it from, well, Mark Gaddis.
Right.
There were no black Romans. But I did because the one thing that I've really held on to about the Roman Empire, from like learning about it in school, was like they were very like sexually fluid and like Caligula and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of liked that it was just like, oh yeah, he only likes guys. I could go either way. Like,
and I actually really liked that scene as well, right? Because I thought, like, first of all, dude, Lucius, which is
yes.
Anytime anyone's named Lucius, I'm just like side eye. Also, but like I thought it was funny, right? Because he's like flirting with her, and I love how it took Bill a moment to realize.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there from top like, he likes you, and we've had like, this is gonna be an interesting conversation given like the fact that we've already had a conversation like this before in the season, and then also like I love how she's like, oh fuck, I'm in the past. They don't like gay people in the past. How am I gonna have this conversation? And then it flips on her, and he's like, wow, you're real conservative, and that's unfortunate for you, but whatever, we can be friends. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that kind of like challenging her own idea of like people in history was interesting and cool.
I also though thought it was interesting. I liked, like, I had that same thought, like, oh, we did this already, but then it kind of was like, that's actually very true to life, especially life as a woman, where it's like, how many times do you have to tell, you know, like a dude who's being like, you know, quick tangent, Connie's not here to reel us in. I was at the library yesterday, and this guy like got my attention. I had my headphones in. I was looking for a place to sit down, and he was like, you can sit next to me, and then did this gross like licky whatever thing.
No.
And I was like, at the library? No. At my sanctuary? At my place of worship?
No one wants that.
Also, you made me take my headphones out for that?
Happen?
What did he think? I don't know, but what he got was a middle finger and me going to the completely opposite side, like as far away as possible. At the library. It was like, it's nothing sacred anymore.
No, not in Trump's America.
But yeah, but like, but the point is that like, if that could happen, I mean, that it's happening, right? So it wasn't, to me, it was like, oh, we've done this, but then it was also like, but yeah, I do that. I have to go through that daily. And so do like every woman in Trump's America and beyond. So. And,
you know, before that as well. But I do think that like,
in the history of time.
In the world, period. Right. Whole history of the universe. But yeah, I also like that because when it first happened, I was like, didn't we do this already? And then like, it wasn't the same. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That was lit. But then also, I like how, like, we get to see, like, one, and somebody mentioned this, I saw it on Twitter, I think it was at Ketchin05, who, like, listens to Tarvis. Hey. But, like, she was mentioning that this is, like, the first, like, season where we get to see the companion be, like, really desirable to, like, everyone.
Yeah.
And I think, like, maybe the closest that we get might be Rose.
Yeah. Rose
because Rose had, like, a couple, like, but they were all men at the same, right? Whereas, like, with Bill, she's, like, attracting men, women.
As well, but Donna was also the aggressor.
Right. Yeah, I was like, she wasn't really getting hit on very often. Like, she was more like, hey, what's up?
Hey,
you and me after this? Where are we going? Which was fine, obviously. But, like, yeah, I thought, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Because, like, most of these episodes, it's either, like, she's crushing on a girl or she's going on a date with someone.
Penny,
and then, or someone, I know, where is Penny at? But then also, like, then she's also getting hit on. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate that very much.
So, do we want to go?
Can we talk about how, really quickly before we go to Bill Phil's, can we talk about how Carr played herself and her whole family?
How Clara?
Like, Carr.
Oh, I was like...
The girl, the gatekeeper.
Wait, that's what I thought you said at first, and then I was like, wait, did I hear that wrong? What?
No, Carr.
Yeah.
Because, so I was at the beginning, like, the first half of the episode before they revealed what happened, like, what she did, I was like, why is she on the verge of tears all the time? Like, I was really sitting there like, why are you always about to start crying? Like,
What is going on?
Dude, you're supposed to be like the great warrior. And not that warriors can't cry and like shed a thug tear every once in a while, but I was like, you really see something happen, because I'm confused about like why you were this pressed.
I'm mad. I'm heated.
I'm just saying. But then we find out that she played herself and her like whole family and her ancestors by letting out one of them Eaters of Light in order to kill all the Romans, and then they killed her family as well, and like now she can't get rid of it. It's just a bad plan.
She didn't think that one through.
No.
That's a no for me, dog. Yeah. I did like though the crow part of that in a weird way. I was like, oh, that's clever. I get what happened there. I get it. They still talking.
It was a really Doctor Who ending.
Yeah.
Like that happened, and I was like, oh, this is the most Doctor Who, like, it's really corny, but still, like, you know, heartwarming and cute, and you're just like, this is, like, very specifically a Doctor Who-ass thing to do at the end of this episode.
Agreed.
Like, let's explain this thing. No one asked for it to be explained. It's, like, now really random.
A pigeon, you're gonna be, or a crow, you're gonna be like, oh,
a crow. Exactly.
Thank you. Now I can't walk past statues without thinking about this show, and I can't ignore crows without thinking about this show. Way to go, guys.
Exactly.
Great marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Bill Fills, can we do it now?
Bill Fills.
Can we go?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we already kind of talked about Lucius flirting. I didn't put this in the thing, but early Bill, when she runs into Carr and she's crying and doing the thing, and she runs after her reactions, like her reaction shot faces and stuff, like I was like, where's the gift maker at, because I need that, like, oh, like, she was like, oh, down, oh, you're coming at me with a knife, like, or a sword or whatever, and then turned around and ran away. I thought that was amazing. And then she did it kind of again, but she was more excited when she saw the Roman, but her face when she fell into that hole and like met him, she was like, he was sword up, and she was like, oh shit, Roman, I was right. Like, I just love her, because, you know, we talk about like the questions that she asks and stuff, but like her, like even her nonverbal like acting, like Pearl, girl, you're a treasure.
Put Pearl in everything, all the things.
It's another reason why Bill needs to stay 1 to 2 to 3 more seasons. To 4 more seasons. Maybe 5.
10, maybe. That's fine, too.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Rotating doctor, same companion. I like it.
Yeah, same. I also like that she kind of took command in this episode as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like... And it actually made me think of Clara a little bit, because we got to see, like, how Bill reacts when she's not with the doctor. And a lot of the... ideology and, like, the things that she was saying, like, came from her, and I know that she believed them, but they also sounded very much like the doctor, and, like, very much... And she sounded like someone who very much has, like, spent a lot of time with him. And it reminded me of Clara, where Clara was trying so hard to, like, be the doctor. Whereas, like, with Bill, she's very much herself, but is at the same time, like, using the same kind of tactics and beliefs. I think part of it is also she doesn't think she's invincible. Like, she was definitely like, nah, we're probably gonna die.
But I also think that
you know what I mean?
Her the way I took it, too, was, like, her idea was, like, we're going to die unless we get to the doctor, and I am not going to shrink in the face of you big bad Romans, because I know for a fact, like, this is what we need to do to survive. And the difference, I think, there between Bill and Clara is that Clara thought that she could kind of replace the doctor in a way. Like, like she didn't need the doctor. She'd figured it out. And here, very much, I felt like Bill was like, oh, we need the doctor, and y'all gonna follow me, because anything else is just, we know that ending, right? Like, the best chance that we have is to go find the dude that's gonna save us. So, yeah, I liked that. I didn't I didn't think that, I guess I wouldn't have used the word, like, taking command, though I see that, like, when I saw it I was like, okay, yeah. But I did like the self-assured way that she was like, this is how we're going to get out of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I just forgot what I was going to say. I also liked the end. I mean, I feel like the doctor was, I don't know, he wanted to sacrifice himself in a way and was like, I can do it because I can hold it off forever, but it seemed like it was definitely a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And I like that Bill was like, nah, that's not happening. And he thought it was like, he's like, oh no, you won't be stranded or whatever. She's like, no, this just isn't, like, you're stuck here, and then what about all the other things like this that happen? Like, they're just gonna happen?
Yeah.
So I think, like, I appreciated her kind of, like, looking to the future and thinking more long term than the doctor did, especially because I feel like for someone who's lived so long, the doctor is really, like, impulsive and kind of is like, this is just what has to happen now, and that's how we're gonna fix it. And great, he doesn't really think, like, he doesn't really have, like, long-term planning, which makes a lot of sense when you have, like, a monster running around and you gotta, like, get rid of it now. But I definitely think, like, he could benefit from that sometimes, and I appreciated that there was someone there to kind of tell him that.
Yeah, I also think that, and then I was thinking about this afterwards, is like, I think that he was so, and I wonder about this, but I felt like he was so argumentative about it being him, and, like, when he says, like, oh, you'll get back, it'll take you back fine and stuff, with that, he was maybe having a little bit of too much faith, for sure, in Missy, and, like, knowing that Missy was out and there, and that Missy could, like, then go and, like, take his place, but, like, she's not there yet, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
she's not good.
She said she shed one tear, and that was after the fact.
Yeah,
that was after this all happened. So and
she just was sitting there eating popcorn, watching y'all go through this too.
I mean, like, to be fair, she was locked, like, she couldn't leave the TARDIS, so.
And I think she also knew that, like, he had it. Like, her threshold for danger with him is much higher than ours would be. But yeah, I didn't think about it until afterwards, when obviously, like, Missy was done and, like, all that. But, like, oh, did he? Because it felt like Bill was doing a lot to convince him. And, like you said, he was like, you'll get home, the TARDIS will take you home, it's fine. But she was like, no, there's, like, a gajillion other things that you need to be around for. One, who's going to guard the vault.
Right.
Two, and, you know, you are going to save this time period, but then in saving us, the world, in this way, you're leaving the world open and vulnerable for a myriad of other invasions and things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bill has just been so refreshingly on it that I'm nervous, but
I just want her to stay.
Yeah,
I know, I'm really nervous. Like, the opening, of the next episode was her talking about something on some, like, you won't let me die, and I was like, if they kill,
listen, we were talking
I'm
about
burning Doctor Who to the ground. That's all I gotta say.
We're gonna be in Ireland. It's a quick jaunt over to the BBC headquarters to be like, bitch, I wish you would.
Like, where's Bill? Right.
2 crazed fangirls stormed into BBC headquarters and took
demanding
hostages.
that Bill Potts be brought back onto Doctor Who season 11.
They said that they will release 1 hostage per episode of Bill Potts. NSA, CIA, MI6, we are joking. Please leave us alone. Y'all have bigger. Go fight the Russians. Leave us alone. Yeah.
Also, make sure Bill comes back next season.
Make sure Bill comes back. Right.
That's your only job.
Right.
I do have some questions for Nardole. Mainly, one, he didn't really look for Bill. No. He was talking like he did.
Not at all.
He was sitting there telling stories. He got his little change of clothes. He was telling stories and shit
to the big man on campus.
Kids. and trying to blend in and shit, and did not look for Bill not once. So there's that. Also, I was like, okay, when they first landed and he was talking about the vault again, I was like, didn't you let Missy? No, did I imagine you letting her out of the vault in the first place? Like, isn't it sort of moot at this point? You're the one who let her out, so how are you gonna nag somebody about guarding it?
Well, I think that made sense to me, though. It's like, I, under duress and stress, and needed, like, the TARDIS was not helping me out, and so I needed to let her out. But now that she's out more than ever, or now that she's been out and had a taste of freedom, now more than ever we need to guard the vault, because she's at her most dangerous now. You know, or this is like a really pivotal moment for us to make sure that, and it's yes, you're right, like, well, whose fault is that? But it made sense to me still that he would be like, can we not be gallivanting across the universe right now?
Right. I don't know. I just felt like he never
took responsibility.
He never. No, not at all.
But, you know.
Whatever.
Why else is Nardole there, you know?
Why is he there? That's the question.
Okay, so what did you think overall of this episode?
I thought it was cool. Like, I think I liked earlier episodes better than, like, the last couple.
I've been noticing that as well.
But I still like them. Yeah. I don't think I haven't... I think the only episode that I was really like, I could have done without was, like, the middle one of the 3-parter. Mm-hmm. And the rest of them, I was like, after that, I've been like, it's cool.
I feel like the middle one of the 3-parter and the last episode on Mars, I could have done without those two. But also, I feel like they're gearing up for the big finale. So it started off really strong, and now we're kind of like being lulled into complacency because all hell's about to break loose.
That's true.
But yeah, I feel like this episode was interesting in a way that, like, I could have... There are bright spots. There are spots that I really liked. But also, like, at the end of it, like I was saying, I just felt like, why? What was that? What does that lead to? Where are we going with this? I just felt kind of untethered. And like I said, you know, I feel like each episode should be kind of either bringing up questions or solving questions. And these last two have just been like, huh? Like,
well, I mean, I don't know. I think that, like,
well, I guess last episode, Murphy was let out of the vault, so that was the big...
Yeah, and I actually did like last episode. I thought it was interesting, and I was glad that they, like, at least tried to talk about colonialism. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think... I'm not so worried about the build-up, because I don't really think Doctor Who has really done that. It's even in the, like, episodes before the big finale. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Last season it was Lady Me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess she, like, came back up again. But I don't know. I'm just trying to... I don't know. I don't know. It hasn't really bothered me like that. I think that this episode was fine. Like, I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was, like, it wasn't my favorite, but, like, it was cool. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, quotes from the TARDIS?
Yes. Crows in the future are all in a huff. Of course they are. Haven't you noticed that noise they make? It's like a mass sulk.
I'm against it. I'm against charm.
Which is really funny that, like,
so
you would go from... That's what I'm saying.
And he's always telling you.
Or maybe he's against... Right, maybe he's against Nardole's charm because he wasn't doing very well. Yeah. So that's possible. Did you hear that? What that sound was? What? Of my patience shattering into billions of pieces.
I love Sassy.
I laughed out loud at that.
Love Sassy Doctor.
Like, I was like, oh, he... Literally, those are all his fucks, is what he was saying.
I have no more to give you, Nardole.
Or like any of them. Like, these damn kids out here pointing weapons at me. I didn't come here for this. I just came here to find Romans.
Right.
Like...
She's not a warrior. She's an embryo. Which was another one of those. I don't have time. It reminded me of at the end of the 3-parter when he told Bill, like, of all, like, there are millions of just stupid humans, yet there's, like, you know, every once in a while you get one like you who's special. Mm-hmm. It was like, this embryo, she's not one of those.
No.
She doesn't make the cut.
No. He probably already knew that she let the dude out in the first, or let the alien out in the first place, right. And was like, nah, I'm not about this. You're not cowards, you're scared. Scared is fine. Scared is human. Oh. Just, you know, like those themes. Yeah. Those life lessons.
Of Doctor Who. Is that what happens? You can understand what everyone is saying. Everyone just sounds like children. Everybody just sounds like children. I felt like that was kind of strange, the everybody sounds like children thing. Mostly because, like you said, like, this isn't the first time the TARDIS translation circuit has come up. And yet, this is the first time everyone sounds like children has come up.
Because everyone were literally all children. Second of all, the Doctor is 2,000 years old. Everyone sounds like children, whether he knows what they're saying or not. Right. And, yeah. So, I mean, I liked it. I think that, like, in the context of the story, it was cool, yeah. And it, like, kind of shed more light on the Doctor. But, like, again, the TARDIS translation matrix they don't use often enough for me to, like, really feel that.
Yeah.
Or, like, address often enough.
Yeah.
They usually, like, they tried to use it as a plot point this time, whereas usually they just use it as, like, get out of jail free card. Yeah. Like, oh, everyone speaks English because of the TARDIS, and that's what it is. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Cool. Like,
everyone sounds English because of the TARDIS translation circuit. Even people on Mars sound British because it's set to
like,
British.
And Gallifreyans, for some reason, speak British.
English. Whatever.
British English. Whatever.
The King's English.
Yes. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was fine, but, like,
it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Doctor about that a lot. You know, this is something that I'll have to, like, kind of fold into my Doctor Who warnings or caveats when I'm explaining why I love the show to people. It's like, one of the things is I'm always like, do not, you know, we've talked about this, like, don't focus too much on the time and the plot. Don't focus in too much on it because it will fall apart because it is such a fantastical show. But then I guess another thing is, like, sometimes things are, like, as you become a Whovian and you get really into the whole, like, world of it all, sometimes things only work in the episode and they have no basis in, like, the overall world building, and you just have to accept those things. Right. Because this was definitely one of those where it was like, okay, in the context of this episode, yeah, awesome. But when you take a step back and think about the wider, like, even just the 10 seasons of New Who, it's like, skeptical. So,
yeah. Cool. So check us out at blackgirlscreate.org. You can read Connie's writing at the New York Daily News. Follow us on Twitter at WeBlackandNerds. Use the hashtag TARDIS to talk about your Who feelings and thoughts and your Bill feels. And you can join our Slack channel where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who.
I was thinking about this. It's like, so use the hashtag TARDIS with the B for blackness, but now it's like B for Bill. B
Time and relative Bill in space.
Time and relative Bill in space. I love it. Thanks so much for listening. You can join us next week when we discuss episode 11, World Enough and Time. Is this the beginning of the finale? We're going to see the Master.
I think it is. Because I feel like, I mean, maybe it has been said somewhere, but, like, when I was looking at the episode list, it's definitely the second to last episode, but I wasn't clear on, like, if it was a two-parter or not. Yeah. But I feel like it is.
I think so.
But yes, we are going to see the Master. And Cybermen. Old school Cybermen.
Yay.
So it's just going to be men in, like, sparkly suits and, like, masks walking around, which is interesting to watch in 2017, but it's fine.
Yeah, so thank you guys, and we will talk to you next week.